how do we do this? How do we market ourselves? Well, the first thing, and this is the thing I will always stress on my channel, prolific, I should say, prolific creation, being prolific as an artist. Be prolific in professionally producing your art. Now, people might, put a stop sign up and say, wait a second, I'm not there yet. I'm not a professional. I want to be. I would love to be a professional in my art, or be a professional in my specialty. I would love to actually have this as a profession. I would love to even make some supplemental income with my art, but I'm not there in terms of skill, in terms of experience. I'm not there. I don't, maybe it's not even skills or experience. Maybe it's the money. Maybe you do not have what you need to get what you want out there. So let's say you aren't quite the professional yet. Well, you could still be prolific. If you're not producing professionally, there are other things to consider. And I would say seriously consider this. I would say please seriously, speaking from my heart, speaking from experience, please seriously consider this. You can be prolific by providing commentary on your art, on your learning process, producing videos for a channel, producing content for a blog or a website, getting something out there and out there frequently for people to refer to. Frequency is everything. And I mean everything. I say this to my students all the time. You apply yourself. I even said this to one student today. I could tell she practiced. I told her to do it too, and she did it. I was really proud of her. I should have told her I was more proud than I mean, she saw how proud I was, but I should have just been kind of over the top with how proud I was. I told her, you need to practice 5 times more than you do. This was last week when I told her. She did, and man, her playing improved. Oh my goodness. Frequency improves everything. Now, frequency is important when it comes to prolific creation. If people are turning to your blogs on a frequent basis, maybe a daily basis or a weekly basis, maybe a professional website, I would say the safest, really, guys, it's free. It's free. The safest bet, really, for now to garner an audience is a YouTube channel, and producing commentary videos on the learning process. This helps you. This is beneficial in a couple of ways. It helps you practice speaking in public, even if it's on the online space. It helps you practice speaking. It helps your speaking skills, and also it helps you practice either entertaining or educating people about your art or art in general. Artists you aspire to be or study, genres that you like to work in, fictional pieces or art pieces or masterpieces that have really inspired you. Educate people or even find your voice. Like maybe you are an entertaining person. Now, you don't have to be an entertainer. But if you have a natural personality or that could really fit, kind of a radio personality, like we see with Fan Man, for instance, that kind of practice really will help. It'll really, polish your personality, on the online public square. So there really is, while you're working to becoming a professional, you're already garnering an audience with your commentary videos. So that's one way of being prolific. So if you're not prolific in that you're producing art professionally, I'm producing albums or single tracks or music in general, be prolific in your commentary. Be prolific with providing value, insight, education, or entertainment to an audience. And it's an open book, man. Not an open book. That's the wrong phrase. It's just an ocean of people out there that really can pick it up. And I will say this to you guys. I don't suppose there are any. I'm just gonna say it. Kaiju fans out there. You know how easy you guys have it for getting a YouTube audience? I am so niche. I'm SuperCollider and Logic Pro, okay? So I'm thankful for the subscribers that I have, but it has been just a steady incline. With something like anime or kaiju, rather than post recommendations on certain chats, you guys should talk about it on your own channels. And I'm saying this like quite emphatically, if you will, because you guys already have an audience at your fingertips. Like you guys, I don't know if you know how lucky you are with your kind of content. If you started, let's say your YouTube channel is about your favorite anime illustrators or just anime shows in general, and what inspires you about those, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, even 10 years down the road, you produce a comic. By that time, you would produce and release a professional comic. You'd probably have thousands of buyers. I am being so honest with you guys. So it's very important, very important to produce prolifically something like commentary. And I would actually say start with video. I would say start with video before the written word, the text, like a blog or something. I would say something like a blog would be supplemental, or it would be an add-on. I guess you could make the two of them equal depending on your workflow, but I think video is going to be the way to go for that. And I wanted to actually, tell you too, it's something I just remembered. I started my channel. Really, the original goal for my channel was to show people how I composed music, because I was always so curious to see how my favorite artists would compose their music, what kind of software they worked with, what kind of sounds they worked with, what kind of techniques in the mixing stage, with EQ and reverb and bypassing effects or different things like that. But I never got to see that. And I love their albums. I love enjoying their albums. And I remember seeing Solar Fields have kind of a professional video on. It was his music and it was in his studio, but it was already tracks of sounds that he had already pretty much stamped on in this project. And I'm like, well, how did he get those sounds? I was always curious about that. So I thought, well, I might not see it myself, for composers that I really do like, but why don't I'm learning SuperCollider. I'll post videos on my learning process and showing people how I'm working with granular synthesis and FM and synth defs and sine tones and all that stuff. So that was really the impetus of my channel, showing people exactly what I do in SuperCollider and Logic Pro. And that generated to more than just that. It generated to producing my original music, and then ultimately, commentary on things like art in general, because art is part of the process. You should have an understanding of art, the history of art, the philosophy of different art and genre, what we've seen in history, what we trends that we've seen, and this includes popular art as well. And so now I've kind of blossomed my channel into talking about art, commentary. I mean, Star Wars, people might come on my channel like SuperCollider and Star Wars. Well, one, I like Star Wars, and it's my channel. I can talk about whatever I want. And people say, no, you gotta be niche. You gotta focus on one thing. But it's like, actually, Star Wars, or talking about Star Wars and writing and creativity and artistic endeavor that are involved in Star Wars, that's really important for a composer to know. That's really important for a musician to know. And so it's kind of branched out to that as well. So until you get to the point where you produce professionally, be prolific in your commentary. I would say in addition to that, I would say start building avenues where people can refer to your art. I would say really home in on 2 to 3 social platforms and concentrate all your marketing energy on that. I have two social platforms, that is YouTube and Twitter, but I also have Bandcamp for people to check out my music, and I'm also working steadily more and more on my professional website. So that's two social platforms. Oh, and I also have SoundCloud too. So two social platforms, two music platforms. That's very easy to maintain, and also my website. So people have up to five places to contact me. Really, they can contact me 5 different locations, 5 different avenues. So as you're working to becoming a professional, an actual professional in your art, provide prolific commentary, you know, in the way of videos on YouTube, for instance, and also start building avenues so people can actually see where to go to when they want your art. You really have to be active in showing where you are on the online square, on the online public square. And I would say, even guys, I know people kind of ask different people, maybe people like Professor Geek, or maybe other channels you really like, and you want to be on as a guest. But I didn't consider this until yesterday. I was taking a walk and I thought, you know what, guys, I actually really wouldn't recommend you guys ask someone like Professor Geek to be a guest on your on his show for that kind of audience if you do not have a place where people can go to. If you don't have a website, really, or a YouTube channel, where you're actually kind of misleading people. Not misleading in a deceptive way, because I didn't know until like yesterday, but it's like, oh yeah, check out my art. I don't have anything anywhere, and Facebook's not going to cut it, guys. It's something, but no, like, oh, I've got my art, but I've also got my channel. I've got a website. I've got what else is a good place? A channel and a website is pretty much where you should go. So maybe even consider, well, if I get on a show on a channel that I like, where can I direct people? Oh, I can't. So really, guys, take this as an opportunity before you are a professional. I'm speaking from my heart, speaking from experience. I'm still in the know. I'm not in the know, like knowing networking and a lot of people, but just from experience and the constant practice, I'm thinking, whoa, okay, here's my channel, but here's other places you can find my music as well. So prolific creation, that is the first thing really to seriously consider when marketing your art. Now, this isn't really just to you guys who are independent artists or wanting to become professionals. This is really for anyone on Twitter, that I follow, seeing the stream perchance. Yeah, that's you just got to be prolific. For composers who do not do more than one album every few years, you're going to be forgotten. One reason why some artists, and sometimes I forget them for several years, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to them. And then I'll check out their Spotify or I'll check out their website, and they've produced like 20 albums in 3 years, and they have an audience. Why? Because that audience can trust that they are going to get an album pretty quickly. And I want to be at that point where I can flesh out an album like, once a month. That would be so awesome. That's a goal. That's a goal that I would have. So that's really important to be prolific and have that prolific creation mindset. But there's more. Professional endorsements. Okay. Professional endorsements. I kind of want to do a whole separate stream or video on just this, but I'll be brief, maybe. Again, everything I say, I want to speak from a professional or a professionally minded person to another professional or professionally minded person. This is not for the hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. This is not for the amateur. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being an amateur, but really do know what you want. But this is from, speaking from a professional musician, and, I make money. It's chump change, but I do make money on my music. Speaking from a professional to another professional. Talking about endorsements and professional endorsements. Be selective. Be selective on what you endorse, who you follow, and what you put out on social media. So let's talk first about endorsing. Endorse endorse only what you believe is good and what you like. I endorse artists that I like, but that I also think are good, that they produce objectively good music, objectively good art. It doesn't matter if they're famous. It doesn't matter if they have 300,000 subscribers or followers. It doesn't matter if they have 2 subscribers or followers. If their art is good and I like it and I go to it and I constantly look at it or listen to it, I'm going to endorse them. And any artist, I'm not a big shot, but any artist who sees my endorsement, just know from my heart, I think it's good and I like it. Now there's art that I think is good that I don't prefer, and I don't endorse it. But you might do one or the other. You might like someone's art and maybe not think it's good, but you still want to, share it or retweet it or put it on a video. That's fine, and that's your call. I'm not saying you have to do both, but that's actually the limit I put on my own Twitter feed and also my YouTube channel and any other platform that I choose to do in the future. So I've been deliberate with that ever since I started Twitter. I started Twitter about 7 years ago. And actually, before even following people, I made the deliberate decision to not follow my friends or family on Twitter and only follow professionals. And what's even more, and I got better at Twitter as I went, but I started following professionals that only talked about their product or their art. Yeah, I mean, someone could post a political thing, but if someone, I don't care how much I love their art, if someone ceases to talk about their art on Twitter and only talks about politics, I don't care if I'm 100% in agreement with you. You're not talking about your art anymore, so I'm probably going to unfollow you. It's kind of sad. But that's how strongly I feel. That's the deliberate decision I made on Twitter. And people complain about Twitter because it's like, it's a cesspool. It's awful. It's like, not if you do it right. Not if you do it right. It's not. Not if you're very deliberate on Twitter. Not if you're very intentional on Twitter. It's not a bad thing if you are absolutely laser focused on keeping Twitter as part of your business. So every retweet or post or like or share of an artist, I do it because I authentically think it's good. I sincerely think it's good, and I sincerely like it. And I do a little bit more than that. For every album or track or art piece that I like, I give people a good reason why I like that art, why I like that project. And I try to write that well. I try to write it with good text, with a good sentence structure, with a good flow, just so it's easy to read and so people can latch onto, oh, okay, so she sees this in this piece of art. I may check it out. I might not check it out, but just to really give that person, whether they, again, have over 100,000 followers or just 1 or 2 followers, if their stuff is good and I like it, I'm going to give the reason why I like it. Follow who you think makes you look like the artist you want to look like, makes you look like the artist you want to be. So this really is, it could be kind of a tandem between professional and artist, but let's say you follow someone, and I kind of already touched on this idea where they don't post anything about their art. And what if they have really good art? Or what if it's like maybe it's a sound designer or composer for like an indie game developer, and maybe they cease posting beautiful animation or beautiful art on the game that they're composing for, and they just start talking social issues and politics. It's like, I kind of followed you for seeing what you're doing on your indie game development. I want to see beautiful animation. I want to see your art. I want to see your works in progress. You know, what music are you generating for this game? What sound design are you generating for this game? That's the stuff I want to see. See, why I see this a lot. Why do people have the Twitter description next to their name? It's like, oh, you know, like I say I'm an ardent maker of electronic music. And what do I post on my content, my feed? Electronic music. It's like, I am this, I am that, I am this professional, I am that, you know, specialist. And then all their Twitter feed is just like nothing but mudslinging for the next governor election or whatever. It's like, I want to learn about your specialty. Like I'm not making this up. I was really so much into sound design and ear health when I first started Twitter. I lost interest, and I'm not saying I wouldn't pick up the interest again. But when I first started Twitter, I was following people, audiologists and people who specialize in ear health, because I really value ear health very, very much, you know, ear health, brain health. And people, I followed people who worked in, you know, tinnitus treatment, you know, people who have ringing in their ears. And, you know, when I follow them, I expect to be in the know about that kind of news, about that kind of treatment. And I lost interest, so I stopped following those people. But that was just because I had lost interest. But it's like, yeah, why do I need to know about your politics and who you're voting for and what you believe to be important? That's not, you know, tinnitus. I'm not saying you have to be completely squeaky clean on that. Like everything you post has to do with your specialty. But I would say your feed should be predominantly that. I go for seeing your art. I go for seeing your specialty. And so if people just spout out something that's not artistically related or sprout out garbage. I mean, I've had to unfollow people because it's just the vile language that they use, or the being sardonic or cynical. I mean, even if I like their art, if they are so cynical about the world and just want to bite at other people, I don't care how good your art is. It's harsh, but I don't want to be associated with people who have a cynical perspective on life, even if their art is good. And so if there's that chance that other people see me with a cynic, like a chronic cynic, then that's that risk. I want to give you this impression because it's who I am. I'm pretty upbeat. I love composing electronic music, both upbeat and eclectic and maybe experimental. And I'm not a cynic. I don't have a cynical view of the world. So follow people you think make you look good, but not just look good. They make you look like the artist you want to be. So be selective on what you endorse. Be selective on who you follow. And I'm talking about Twitter, but I'm really talking about just the social medium or social media. The medium is singular. And then also just what you put out on social media. You know, put out things that benefit you professionally. One thing is that's so vital is don't spam. Don't spam. I've heard some entrepreneurs say, you got to just blow up Twitter with all this stuff and all this content. Well, first of all, if I'm tweeting every hour, I don't have time to do the stuff I need to do. But don't. I've had to unfollow artists that I did like, but they just littered my feed with their stuff, and it looks mindless. You know, even if it's something you support, like I'm going to support this guy, I'm going to support what this person thinks, I'm going to support this project, but it's so frequent and it just, I mean, if you're the only person I see scrolling down for lengths of time, I'm going to have to mute you, or I'm going to have to unfollow you because I want to see other people's stuff. So that's another thing too, is a way to look professional is to not spam. I'm kind of surprised that some entrepreneur, I've heard, his name is Grant Cardone. I think he's lighting up on Twitter since he published that book. But he's like, you got to be tweeting every minute. And he has a team to do that. But yeah, it's nice to have your art ubiquitous. But you yourself, like you as a person, you don't need to be on everyone's mind. That being ubiquitous is actually probably not a good thing psychologically for you or for others. Don't ingratiate yourself to people you support and admire with comments or obsessive retweets. So I already fronted that with my previous idea, but yeah, don't spam. Like even if you want to show someone how much of a fan you are of them, if you're constantly ingratiating yourself, that's what it looks like. As well-meaning as you can be, that's what it looks like. So be modest and be really thoughtful and really intentional with how you are conducting yourself on social media, what you are putting out. And I would say your support will naturally come from your endorsements. So be professional with your endorsing artists or anyone you admire. As a recap, where artists go wrong with marketing. Just not really considering prolific creation. And by prolific creation, I mean producing art professionally. And if you're not a professional yet, building those avenues and getting an audience as you are producing professionally. Start building your audience to get that art out there. And also being selective about your endorsing artists and who you follow and what kind of content you put out there or what kind of text or sentiments you put out there. Just proceed with caution. And why artists do struggle with marketing is, I would say, it could be low self-esteem, but again, practice, that constant practice and output of art will really kind of nip that low self-esteem in the bud. And also just have a healthier perspective on money and making a living doing your art. Can you imagine making a living doing the art you love? That's pretty cool. That's such a cool idea.